With a bunch of amazing games ready for the second half of 2022, like Wanderer, The Fragments of Fate, Aliens VR, and the much anticipated Behemoth, which I absolutely adored my time with when I played it a couple weeks back, we've got a great lineup for the future of PSVR2 for the rest of this year in terms of big releases, not to mention the smaller indie ones. However, it's time to have a look back over the first half of 2024, since we're almost there now, of my top picks for the best PSVR2 games for the first half of this year. There have been some great ones, not so great ones, but today we're celebrating the ones that have really made a mark on my mind and I loved reviewing on the channel. But before we do that, two things. Although this video is recorded 2 or so weeks in advance due to scheduling stuff, I'm fairly sure we haven't made it to 10,000 subs yet at the time of this coming out, so we're really trying to get there. And if you enjoy PSVR2 or VR in general, that's what we're all about here on the channel, so please feel free to subscribe as it is free, it costs you nothing, and you can unsub in the future if you want to. And the second thing is that today we have a paid partner, which I grapple with a lot, as I've been saying over the past month. This month I've accepted a few more sponsors, and I'm making sure that these ones are VR focused, and OVRDARK definitely are. OVRDARK are a company that make prescription lenses for VR headsets, and the ones that I use are their lenses for the PSVR2. They precisely customize lenses based on your prescription if you have one, with blue light blocking options to provide vision protection. And for those who don't have a prescription, like myself, this blue light option is perfect, along with anti-glare if you want it. It'll offer you a much needed sense of security for your lenses and protection against scratches, and it's just absolute peace of mind. They're also really easy to install and remove, making them really convenient for travel, and I genuinely use these guys' lenses day after day, and it just keeps me having my peace of mind. Please do check them out in the link in the description below, and thank you once again for OVRDARK for being the paid partner of today's video. Anyway, let's get on to my top picks for the first half of this year. The first one is an absolutely no-brainer, both incredible single-player RPG and multiplayer co-op experience. Legendary Tales has been a massive hit. Not only has it had a huge financial success on the platform this year in terms of how many units sold, it's had such a good critical and fan-based response from users of the headset, both with its 1.0 Steam release and its release on PSVR2. I personally love crawling through these dungeons with friends, having really fun physics-based melee combat, upgrading my gear, leveling up, choosing skill tree perks, and so much more. This game has some of the most content to offer on PSVR2 and in VR in general, and I genuinely believe you can get hundreds of hours of entertainment out of it. That alone makes it worth being put on this list, but I absolutely adore Legendary Tales. From the moment it popped up randomly at a PS State of Play to release, it did not disappoint. The next game is one that I don't really see getting talked about too much, and I wish it did get talked about more, and that is Ultrawings 2. Although it may look cartoony on the surface, I actually quite like this visual style after sitting in it for a while. It runs natively on the PSVR2 headset, and actually has some really intricate flight mechanics and physics that make it feel more grounded than it looks on the surface. With lots of challenges to try out in this game, combat and cross-play support. If you're looking for a flight game to tide you over until Aces of Thunder and don't mind the art style of this one, I genuinely recommend it because I had loads of fun with this one after my disappointment with Project Wingman, and this really just patched that wound straight up. Of course, I've got to include a fan favourite and a me favourite, Vertigo 2, despite some frame rate issues throughout the game that I really hope get patched in the future because it deserves a patch. Vertigo 2, in my opinion, is an indie game masterpiece. Its world building, its character designs, its weapon mechanics, its story, I was engrossed from hour 1 to hour 10 of this game at the end. I absolutely loved it, exploring the worlds it had to offer, taking in the sights, and just the wild ideas that the creator put through this game into my brain. Vertigo 2 deserves a chance by everybody, but honestly, I do understand with some of its frame rate issues, it can cause severe motion sickness, and I just hope it gets patched up. But even with that, I would honestly recommend it because it just left such a lasting impression on me as a player and as a reviewer. One that I didn't expect to be putting on this list when I first got around to hearing about it is OVRDARK Do Not Open Story. A sequel to a game that I didn't really hear unanimous praise about back on the PSVR 1, but OVRDARK genuinely surprised me with its ingenious puzzles, its Resident Evil style, its really good visuals, and genuinely good scares. I had no expectations going into it, and as a growing horror fan, I'm not quite there to full horror fan yet, I'm still quite scared. So scared, in fact, that I am slightly nervous about the Alien game coming out later this year, but OVRDARK helped me on that journey to appreciate horror more because of its genuine quality. It might be a little shorter than its Resident Evil or Madison counterparts, but it's got a fair bit to offer, and it's on the cheaper side of the PSVR2 game spectrum, and I'd happily recommend it and put it on this list. But I am thankful that it launched before Madison VR, because Madison VR, in my opinion, raised the bar for VR horror. One of the scariest games I've ever played. I'm very grateful that I didn't do a Miles Dyer and do a live stream with a heart rate monitor, because I don't think I could have handled that. Poor guy. But Madison shows some genuine quality, attention to detail, amazing visuals for the PSVR2 headset, somehow a lack of mirror in basically every scene, which is such an achievement given how dark this game is, terrifying mechanics and encounters, and a genuinely engaging story from start to finish. It was hyped up for a very long time, and I was scared it wouldn't really reach that level in terms of expectations that it set for itself, but it really did, and I loved it. I've also got to throw in Cube here as well, because if nothing more, it's a beautiful, creative Minecraft-like game. It's another game that runs natively that's on this list, because even though if you're not into the creative Minecraft style of gameplay where you just build and you don't manage survival resources, Cube still has some incredible sights to offer you. Its textures are incredibly high resolution despite its blocky nature, its lighting effects are really impressive, and its music is also incredibly calming. If you want a zen experience on PSVR2, I could happily recommend this one, and it left a really soothing impression on me and has reached the tier of Kayak VR for me in terms of the experiences that I choose when I want to head on to PSVR2 and relax. Another relaxing game, but with a little bit of challenge, is Little Cities Bigger. When it launched on PSVR2 this year, I didn't really have too many expectations for it, aside from expecting it to be polished, because the porting studio was in Dreams, and my god, was it polished and then some. It's absolutely adorable, got some incredibly solid foundations for a city builder, even though it is a little simplified in certain places. Great attention to detail, and it's just so addictive that I didn't want to stop playing it as I was reviewing it. The attention to detail here goes so far in this game that when a plane flies over your little island, you feel your headset haptic rumble as it goes past, which just wasn't needed, but it's the level of detail and attention to it that we're talking about here within Dreams and their porting process. I was absolutely enamored with Little Cities Bigger at the time of recording and reviewing, and I still am now and would comfortably recommend it. And finally, a bit of a weird one, because some people might not put this on the same tier as the rest of the games in this list, but recently I really loved playing through Sushi Ben. It felt like I was put right in the middle of a manga with some really engaging characters and story beats, with such love poured into it, and it genuinely was such a great port to PSVR2 in terms of how it looked and how it played. And I'm a real sucker for the JRPG style of dialogue that might take a little long, but has some great voice acting behind it, which Sushi Ben definitely does. Not one that I'd recommend to absolutely everybody, because it's for a very specific niche of people, namely me, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, and I would kick myself if I didn't put it as the final entry on this list. Anyway, that'll do us for today's video. Are there any games that you've enjoyed this year, and what are you looking forward to for the rest of it? I've got to say thank you as well to our patrons and YouTube members, Luke Bentley, Phil Irving, Zeet Mercer, Ace Gamer, Hippie Pickle, Jin007, A License to Chill, and Sun WTF. If you want to join the YouTube membership or Patreon, the links are all in the description below, as they always are, along with the link to our Discord. Thank you again to VR Rock for being the paid partner of today's video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.